What if what looked good was never from God? What if the thing you begged him to keep was the very thing he had to remove to protect you? Sometimes the hardest goodbyes are actually the loudest acts of mercy. Because God doesn't just give, he guards. And what you call loss, heaven calls rescue. You saw potential. You saw hope. You saw the version of someone that could have loved you right. But God saw everything you couldn't. He saw conversations you never heard. He saw intentions you refused to believe. He saw a future where the good you wanted would have drained the light he placed inside you. He knew that if he didn't step in, you would keep trying to heal what was sent to distract you. So, he interrupted the story. He pulled you away, even when you resisted. He let it fall apart, not because you were unworthy, but because you were too worthy to stay in something that wasn't made to last. The truth is, not everything that shines is safe. Some things look beautiful, but burn when you hold them too long. And when God loves you deeply, he doesn't just bless you with what's right, he blocks you from what's wrong. Because sometimes the most loving thing he can do is disappoint your expectations to protect your destiny. You keep replaying the memories, asking, why would you take that away if it was good? But God never removes good things, only the ones that pretend to be. He saw what your heart couldn't, and he stepped in before you broke beyond repair. So if it ended suddenly, if it vanished without reason, if you're standing in silence wondering what went wrong, maybe nothing went wrong. Maybe everything finally went right. Because divine love doesn't always look like open doors. Sometimes it looks like closed ones that keep you safe. Before we go deeper, check if you're subscribed to the channel, because every message here is meant to help you see God's protection behind what you called pain. If this touched your spirit, like this video and comment below. God, thank you for protecting me from what looked good. Not everything that feels right was sent by God. Some things enter your life looking like answers, but carrying hidden lessons. The enemy doesn't always come to destroy you through obvious darkness. Sometimes he comes dressed as everything you've prayed for. He knows how to imitate comfort, how to mirror your desires, how to speak your language just long enough to earn your trust. That's why discernment is protection. Because what feels good isn't always what's good for you. Some opportunities arrive glowing with promise, but if you look closely, the light flickers. It's artificial. It draws you in, keeps you close, and before you realize it, you're further from peace than ever before. God allows some connections to start so he can reveal what your heart still falls for. He lets you taste what looks like love so you can learn the difference between being wanted and being valued. And when he finally pulls it away, it's not rejection. It's revelation. He's showing you how easily you can be deceived by something that looks divine but drains your spirit. The truth is, some relationships are distractions in disguise. They keep you busy enough to miss the voice of God. They make you feel seen but slowly blind you to your purpose. They make you feel chosen, but only because you were convenient. And when the thrill fades, all that's left is emptiness dressed as affection. That's why God had to interrupt. It because he refuses to let you build peace on a counterfeit foundation. He'd rather let your heart ache for a moment than let your soul live in quiet chaos. And when he removes what was never his, he replaces it with what carries his presence. So if something once felt right but ended wrong, don't mourn what left. Thank God for revealing where it came from. Because the most dangerous thing isn't losing what you thought was love. It's keeping something that was never meant to be. And when you finally see it clearly, you'll understand. The interruption wasn't betrayal, it was protection wrapped in wisdom. There's a difference between what is good and what is God, because not everything that feels right was formed by Him. The world teaches you to chase what excites you, but heaven teaches you to wait for what anchors you. And while the good may please your emotions, only what comes from God will bring peace to your soul. The good is often loud, full of promises, intensity, and urgency. It looks like everything you ever wanted arriving all at once. But what's from God moves differently. It's steady, it's quiet, it's patient. It doesn't demand your attention, it earns your trust. The good makes you feel full in the moment, but empty afterward. What's from God fills you in silence and sustains you through storms. The good flatters you. God's will refines you. The good is built on emotion. God's is built on foundation. And while the good can be taken away, what's divine cannot be undone. Sometimes you ask God to bless something He never built. You call it answered prayer because it came easily, but God knows. Not every open door is an invitation. Some are exits disguised as opportunity. He allows you to walk through them so you can learn to recognize the difference between what feels good and what bears fruit. The enemy offers imitation blessings too. They shine bright, but they burn fast. They promise connection, but leave confusion. They look like purpose, but lead to distraction. That's why discernment isn't optional, it's survival. It's what keeps your heart safe in a world full of almosts. And when God removes what looked good, it's never to withhold, it's to protect. Because His timing isn't about giving you what you want, it's about giving you what can last. He doesn't want you to taste temporary comfort. He wants you to live in permanent peace. So the next time something seems perfect but your spirit feels uneasy, listen to that. Tension, that's not fear, that's discernment. Because deep down your soul knows what your heart doesn't want to admit. What looks good can fade, but what's from God will remain. You didn't lose it by accident. That friendship, that relationship, that opportunity, it didn't just fade away. God removed it. And one day you'll understand that what you called loss was actually His mercy in disguise. He saw what your eyes couldn't. He heard conversations you never did. He watched hearts change before you could notice it happening. He knew that if He didn't step in, you would keep giving pieces of yourself to something that was slowly breaking you. So He closed the door, not to hurt you, but to heal you. Sometimes the ending is the evidence of His love, because He knows that letting you stay in the wrong place would cost more than the pain of letting it go. You cried, thinking you were being rejected, but heaven was whispering, I'm protecting you. You thought you were being abandoned. But you were being rescued. God will never take something from you unless it's standing in the way of something greater. And though you can't see it yet, every goodbye He orchestrates is an act of divine preservation. He's not punishing you. He's preventing you from being destroyed by what you thought you needed. That's the paradox of faith. You often mourn what was actually saving you by leaving. You keep asking, why did it end? But what if the real question is, what was God saving me from? Sometimes he has to break your heart to protect your future. He lets you feel the ache now, so you won't carry the damage later. And the very moment you thought was the worst day of your life might be the day heaven celebrated your deliverance. One day, when your peace returns, you'll look back and realize you didn't lose what was meant for you. You lost what would have kept you from what was. God's protection will always feel like pain, until perspective turns it into praise. If this spoke to you, write in the comments. God, thank you for protecting me from what looked good. Because sometimes being saved doesn't look like being held. It looks like being set free. God doesn't just see what's in front of you. He sees what's ahead of you. He knows where every road leads, even the ones that look safe from where you stand. He sees the conversations that haven't happened yet, the changes in people's hearts that you can't detect, and the moments that would have broken you if he hadn't stepped in. That's why he removes what you think is harmless, because he's already seen the harm you can't. You only see the surface, the smile, the connection, the promise, but God sees the layers. He sees the motives hidden behind charm. He sees the future arguments waiting behind attraction. He sees how something that seems right today could leave scars tomorrow. So when he pulls you back, it's not cruelty, it's clarity. There were people you prayed to keep, and he still took them away. Not because he wanted to watch you hurt, but because he knew they couldn't go where he's taking you. They weren't built for the next version of your calling. They were part of a chapter that had to close so that your story could continue. You only see the door shutting. He sees what's waiting behind it. You only feel the sting of distance. He sees the peace that's coming next. That's why trusting him means surrendering your limited vision for his eternal one. Because his perspective isn't bound by emotion. It's guided by purpose. You might think, but they seemed perfect. And maybe they were, for the season that shaped you. But God doesn't measure perfection by comfort. He measures it by calling. If something or someone could block your growth, he'll move it, even if you call it love. So the next time something suddenly ends or someone unexpectedly leaves, don't assume rejection. Consider revelation. God saw what you didn't. He's protecting you not just from pain, but from pathways that lead away from peace. He's not trying to take good things from you. He's making sure what's coming will be right. And when the time is right, he'll show you why he had to say no, because he was already watching what you couldn't yet see. The space that God created when he removed what you thought you needed isn't a void. It's a vessel. It's the quiet place where he begins to rebuild the parts of you that love broke, and to strengthen the parts that pain exposed. You see emptiness, but heaven sees opportunity, because every separation ordered by God carries a secret assignment to grow what pain once kept small. At first, the silence hurts. You feel the absence louder than the peace that's coming. You replay the memories, you second-guess the ending, and you wonder if you made a mistake by letting go. But in that silence, something sacred is happening. God is detoxing your heart. He's cleansing your spirit from dependency, from illusions, from the need to be chosen by people who never saw your value clearly. In the absence, he teaches you awareness. You start to recognize red flags faster. You start to value peace over passion. and you begin to understand that love isn't supposed to feel like survival. You stop reaching for what's gone and start reaching for God, not for answers, but for alignment. The distance becomes your teacher. It shows you what you were willing to settle for. It exposes what parts of you needed healing, and it reminds you that solitude is not punishment. It's preparation. You're not being deprived, you're being developed. Because sometimes God has to empty your hands so he can fill them with something worthy. The more time passes, the more your heart starts to soften again, not toward what left, but toward what's next. You begin to trust that peace is a better companion than pain disguised as passion. You stop chasing closure and start walking in clarity. That's what the distance does. It rewires your heart to respond to God before it reacts to emotion. It matures your love, your discernment, and your strength. And one day, you'll realize that the separation didn't destroy you. It defined you. So if it feels quiet right now, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it shape you, because the same space that feels empty is the very space where God is growing everything you once prayed for. While you're healing, heaven is building. Every tear, every prayer, every quiet night where you whispered, "God, help me understand." All of it is being woven into something sacred, because God doesn't waste pain. He repurposes it. He's using the pieces of what broke you to build the strength that will carry you into what's next. You can't see it yet, but what he's preparing in this hidden season will one day make perfect sense. He's aligning new opportunities, new people, new peace. He's shaping a future that won't repeat your past. And the very things that used to trigger your fears will soon testify to your growth. While you think nothing is happening, he's preparing someone who will see you differently. Not as someone to fix, but as someone to honor. Someone who's gone through their own healing, who knows the weight of silence, who understands that love isn't built in rushes, but in reverence. Because real love can only exist between two people who've let God heal them first. That's why this pause is not punishment, it's precision. He's waiting until both hearts are whole enough to handle holy connection. He's mending your trust, restoring your joy, and teaching you how to love without losing yourself. And when the right person finally arrives, you'll realize they didn't come to complete you. They came to complement what God already made whole. Even now, he's preparing divine timing, the right place, the right moment, the right peace. Everything that was delayed is being developed in silence, because love written by heaven can't be rushed. It can only be revealed. So don't confuse the quiet for absence. It's evidence. It means God is working. And one day you'll look back at this healing season and say, "I see it now. Every ache was alignment." If this reached your heart, write in the comments, "God, I trust what you removed and what you're preparing." Because what feels delayed isn't denial, it's design. There will come a day when all of this finally makes sense. The confusion, the silence, the unanswered prayers, they will all fit together, like pieces of a puzzle that once looked impossible. And in that moment you'll see it clearly. God was never punishing you. He was positioning you. Right now, it feels like loss. You replay moments and ask, why did it end like this? But one day, you'll look back and realize it didn't end. It evolved. God used what broke you to redirect you. He allowed certain doors to close, not because you weren't ready to walk through them, but because what was behind them could have destroyed your peace. You'll understand that his no was never rejection, it was redirection. That every unanswered prayer was an act of love, that every silence was a shield. He was never ignoring you, he was interceding for you. And what you thought was delay was actually divine timing being perfected in the unseen. The same pain that once made you question him will one day become the reason you praise him, because you'll see how every detour had purpose. Every heartbreak held hidden wisdom. Every separation made room for something sacred. Nothing was random, it was refinement. When that day comes, you'll stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you, God," because you'll see how he protected you from paths that looked peaceful but led to destruction. You'll see how he turned rejection into redirection, confusion into clarity, waiting into wisdom. You'll see that the things you cried over were never losses. They were lessons in disguise. And the best part? You'll feel peace where there used to be pain. You'll feel gratitude where there used to be grief. You'll finally see that his timing was never late, it was layered. Every pause had purpose, and every delay was divine design. When that day comes, you won't need closure from people. You'll find it in God. Because revelation always replaces regret when you see the full picture. And you'll whisper to yourself, "Now I understand. The pain was never punishment, it was preparation. The most loving thing God ever did for you wasn't what he gave. It was what he refused to give." His love is not only revealed in answered prayers, but in the ones he never allowed to happen. Because the no you cried over was actually the shield you didn't know you needed. You saw potential, you saw possibility, but God saw patterns. The same pain wrapped in a different face, the same distraction dressed as destiny. So he said no, and you mistook his protection for punishment. You didn't realize that his denial was his defense of your peace. You asked for something that looked good, but he knew it wasn't God good. He knew the way it would end, the way it would slowly dim your spirit, the way it would lead you away from the purpose he's calling you to. So he closed the door. He rerouted the path. He broke the connection before it broke you. That's love. The kind that values your future more than your feelings. Because true love doesn't always say yes. Sometimes it says not yet. Sometimes it says never. And sometimes it says nothing, because the silence itself is protection. You may think you're ready, but he knows readiness isn't measured by desire. It's measured by discernment. And until your spirit can tell the difference between attraction and assignment, he will keep saying no, because he refuses to let you settle for almost. Those nouns are sacred. They are the boundaries of his mercy. They're the reason you're still standing with your heart intact. Because if God gave you everything you asked for, you'd be tied to things that couldn't carry you where he's taking you. So don't resent his refusals, revere them, because every no was a divine intervention. Every unanswered prayer was an act of love. Every closed door was a whisper saying, "I love you too much to let you stay there." One day you'll thank him for every time he didn't say yes, because his no wasn't the end. It was evidence that he's preparing something far greater. Now you can see it. God's protection doesn't always come wrapped in a peace. Sometimes it comes wrapped in loss. Sometimes it sounds like silence. Sometimes it looks like everything you wanted walking away. But behind every ending he allows, there's an unseen beginning he's preparing. He didn't take it to punish you. He took it because he loves you too much to let you keep settling for less than his promise. You called it rejection, but heaven called it rescue. He saw what you couldn't, and he stepped in before the damage could reach your soul. That's what divine love does. It steps between you and destruction, even when you fight to hold on. Every person who left, every door that closed, every moment that forced you to start again, it all carried his fingerprints. Because God doesn't just protect your future, he protects your becoming. He knows what kind of peace you need, what kind of love your heart was designed to hold, and what kind of strength would never grow if you got everything too soon. He allowed the removal to reveal what was real. He took what was temporary so you could receive what's timeless, and though it hurt, you'll one day realize he was never taking. He was trading your anxiety for peace, your confusion for clarity, your loneliness for purpose. That's how he loves you. Fiercely, protectively, completely. He doesn't just heal your wounds. He makes sure you don't reopen them, chasing what was never meant to stay. He doesn't just fix your heart. He fortifies it. Because his goal isn't to give you comfort. It's to give you character. So if you're standing in that place where something good is gone, hold on. Because God never ends something without the intention of beginning something better. You may not understand it now, but you will. And when you do, gratitude will replace grief. If you made it to this part of the video, it's because this message was meant for you. Check if you're subscribed to the channel, because every message aqui é lembrete de que a proteção de Deus é o maior ato de amor que existe. Deixe seu comentário dizendo, God, thank you for removing what wasn't meant for me. Curta este vídeo, compartilhe com alguém que precisa entender esse tipo de proteção. E assista ao próximo vídeo que está aparecendo na tela, porque ele continua essa mesma jornada de cura, fé e recomeço em Deus. Sometimes, what looks like loss is just love in disguise.